Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you on a beautiful day that we're all lucky to see. And appreciate you guys coming to listen to my little presentation on our organization that I helped to co-found and create in 2018. First slide. So density here, but our organization is called MISTI, the Maryland Innovation Security Institute. And our first innovation in the mission accelerator was DreamPort. Started out with 18,000 square feet, a couple exits from here in Columbia, Maryland, in this facility, based on an idea by U.S. Cyber Command, saying, hey, we need an organization that can go out, be out front, can clear the decks for us in terms of the restrictions and the limitations that we have relative to security credentials, accelerate access to technology, help us foster engagement with the community that we need to help solve very difficult cyber problems of not just U.S. Cyber Command, but its partners. And if you guys know Cyber Command, particularly when it became a full-blown combat command, its authorities allow it to work with NATO countries and other foreign partners to help defend the nation as appropriate with its authorities relative to emerging cyber threats or active cyber threats, or let's face it, cyber warfare. Even though they typically don't like to use that word, even though it's what happens in the real world when things happen. Next slide. So we were founded in 2018. We started out with about 18,000 square feet of space in Columbia, Maryland. Literally within a couple of months of opening the doors, we were already adding another 20,000, 30,000 square feet. That's how quickly the demand signal was to expand. We started out with some initial challenges that Cyber Command published. One of the things that we continue to do, Cyber Command publishes amazing unclassified technology problems. They're on our website. They're on those challenge problems. They're also on their website. The idea behind publishing those unclassified problems is to accelerate industry's ability to engage with them, realizing that, like in a lot of DoD and intelligence community problem sets, 60–70% of the problems remain classified. There's that 20–30% that is very sensitive, that no one should know about other than the people that are actually doing the mission. But to get to their final destination in terms of innovation and accelerating speed of how they can develop new weapon systems for cyber, understand how to defend, understand adversarial capitalization. The unclassified world was the best way to get at it. It allowed more people to come in, and allowed more diverse companies to engage. And it also allowed the command through us to do something that's difficult for any government agency to do, which is to access non-traditional entities. Non-traditional entities being organizations that don't typically have contracts with the Department of Defense. We all know the big companies and the billions of dollars that they get from DoD prime contracts. But a lot of innovation, a lot of those big companies will go to small companies anyway for special technology that gets created, special software, special thinking, right? And the command, as any government organization, we only have so many people. The command being fairly new still, these number of years since its creation, don't have enough people, don't have enough of acquisition personnel needed to access all the things they may be interested in. The other challenge for the command at the time of the creation of the DreamPort concept under the Maryland Innovation and Security Institute, or MISTI as we call ourselves at this point, is speed. Speed. We all realize that cyber does not wait. It doesn't have any rules in the offensive world in terms of our adversaries. And without speed, we were losing advantage. And we needed to continue to stay ahead of the threat as it was emerging, whether it be election security, whether it be satellite communication, threats of SATCOM, whether it be critical infrastructure. And even today, speed is really important. I think speed will never lack importance with the mission for our U.S. government partners. If you look at what happened in Ukraine, and I was in D.C. yesterday for a meeting with some folks, and the whole talk was about the satellite attack on the Ukrainian satellite system, the Viasat system, right? In fact, they lost ISR, TISR capability to defend themselves against Russian troop movements. And as I sat there, it's like not the first time I've heard it. I've been traveling around. It's like it keeps coming up in conversations around the country. I'm like, wow, did that really surprise us? That you could attack a SAT system and disable a country's ability to defend itself and see troop movements and target and all that. And why is that such a big deal? But it is, and and it's become a very high priority for Cyber Command, Space Force. When I was with the other day, is looking at it. It's just on and on and on. Artificial intelligence, the use of AI, those technologies are moving fast, and they need an organization that can act faster than government can traditionally act. How does our organization do that? Well, it's something that I've been playing around with. There's some things that we're going to, gravity-defying innovation. What is gravity? How do we define gravity? Gravity is all the stuff that we're used to in government contracting. Our regulations, 2-year life cycles, from acquisition protests, all of those are gravity-defying things, right? Processes, rules, how many meetings. I was teasing someone the other day on agency, and I'm like, I've had 5 meetings, and they don't even know if they have money yet. I can't do another meeting on something that we may never do. That's gravity, okay? I'd rather be focusing my attention on something that actually has funding behind it than talking about something that may never get funded, because there's only 20 hours in a day, right? That's what we call gravity in our organization, trying to get rid of those barriers. So how did the command's vision that we define, or we in the process of defining gravity? So we talked about acceleration. We talked about declassification of problem, right? So that we can expose those problems to more technology entities in the country. One of the other components is our using the other transaction. So we're one of the biggest stakes that we have to accelerate acquisitions and the ability of our government partners to get to a company once we determine viability, either together or separately. I ain't cheering the same thing there. She defies gravity every day. The OTA PIA is the vehicle that we use. So we're a not-for-profit, 501c4, and with the authorities that are inherent within other transaction authority partnership intermediary agreement, it allows us to act as a front door to the stakeholder, the government stakeholder, whether it be civilian or whether it be. So we do also work with civilian agencies as well. And then we work with academia and we work with industry. Okay, so, and I'll do the and talk to you. And we partner up with the FFRDCs and UART as well as necessary, right, to accomplish something. So the advantages of an OTP is that when we advertise a problem to you folks, you respond, it automatically is considered a competitive process for the government. And you can see that on our website. You can find the authorities that define that, right? The other thing about an OTAP, it's a non-far-fetched vehicle. Like I said, gravity, right? Things that, hop on one leg 3 times, sign 4 times, and all that stuff, right? So that's what the OTAP allows you to avoid, that those gravitational pulls that keep you from focusing on developing capability and delivering capability, getting a return on investment back to the stakeholder. When we advertise a requirement through our organization, whether we get one response or we get dozens of responses, once those responses have come in, and they're viable responses, we can engage with those entities. And we engage with those entities in one of several ways. One way that we engage, several ways, is the government can say, we're going to work alongside you to evaluate the viability of this problem, that someone can solve a problem. So we're going to work right alongside you, and right alongside that need. Let's bring them in, and let's start looking. So we typically develop some sort of way to determine viability, either for a rapid prototyping event, through some sort of collaborative integration capability, or some test and evaluation capability. So I'll give an example of a test and evaluation capability that we're engaged in right now. So for the principal cyber advisors at Pentagon, there's 2 technologies, I won't name them, that they want us to look at. Not that they're classified, I just won't name them to protect the companies because in the process that we're engaged in right now. So one of them claims to be able to encrypt industrial control protocols in a manner that are not discernible to the adversary. So that's one aspect of technology. The other half of the technology, the company that bought them says, hey, not only can they protect, if something happens, we can detect. We can detect fast. Okay, and we use blockchain technology to secure everything. So the Pentagon goes like, these guys been hammering at the door, da. We need to come up with some sort of quick rapid evaluation to get young for sure that these guys are telling us in their Zoom demos of us. So let's install in our lab. Let's come up with some test cases of launching malware and different things, okay, in the lab. And let's come up with a set of measurements. So Pentagon gives me what they're looking for: speed, accuracy, usability, reliability, extensibility, those kinds of things, right? So we package those things up, said, okay, we got it. And we come up with the test cases to help Pentagon look at it. And we're not an FFRDC, so we're technically not testing, we're characterizing capability. This is the technical term that we use. We're determining, is what the vendor is trying to tell the DoD, in this particular case, true? And where it's not true, can we identify it and call it out and specifically point it out so that the DoD can then go make a decision on continued progression to either buy or invest in this technology. What we do in those cases, the technology comes into the lab, we work with the vendors, we discuss what the ideal environment is, right? We want to be fair. Okay, oh, you use AI, you need a week to train. Okay, cool, we'll set that up, we'll run data through there. You're comfortable that this data works for you, but you configure everything. And Andy knows that because he's been through that process back there at Cisco. We don't touch your gear because the last thing we want is you didn't turn on this switch or you forgot to configure that, right? We set up the environment, but it's your product, you're responsible for configuring it. All we're gonna do is launch the good stuff at it to determine whether it does what you say it does and how it does what you say it does. We're not interested in your IP. We're interested in what anybody wants. Does it work? How does it work? How fast does it work? And yeah, of course, what does it cost? And how useful is it to the customer? And literally the requirement you have to depending on it are those parameters. So we're in the process of setting this environment. And then once we determine what the proper environment, we agree with the vendor, this is fair, right? Yes, it's fair, sign here. Okay, you set up your equipment, you're sure it's ready to go to be tested? Yeah, it's ready to go, sign here. And then we run the test. And then we look at the evaluations together, and we say, hey, this is the result, what do you think? Anything here that doesn't look right to you, or that we did something that unfairly characterized what you could do or what you cannot do? It's either, most of the time, 99% of the time that we've been doing this, it's like, yeah, that's fair. And then we write up a report and give it to the Pentagon. The Pentagon circulates it to whoever however they're going to do it. They decide what they're going to do after that. So that's one way we do things. The other things we do is short-term, rapid-fire system integration, rapid prototyping. It says it does this, but it does 50% of the problem. This does 20%, and this does another 20%. Put that together and see if we can come up with an 80% or 90% factual solution that we should continue to invest in once we put our custom classified requirements on top. So we'll do that with the vendor in an unclassified setting most of the time. Every once in a while we'll do it in a classified setting if there's no way around doing it in a classified setting, but the bulk of the charge is to do it. So that's a rapid way that we determine capability, viability, those kinds of things, and then that information goes back to the government. The other thing is the government does a very stiff set of requirements. We advertise that, and the vendor responds. We're doing this right now for the F-35 program. The government has, the Air Force, our stakeholder there. And I should say that now that we started out with Cyber Command, but actually our largest stakeholder is actually the National Security Agency and the Air Force. They are using us heavily now, and as a result of capabilities that they discovered that we have and to accelerate their missions. Then we have a bunch of other customers that now are also partners of US Cyber Command, but also the international partners of the government, like the Israelis, the Five Eyes. We work with them as well to develop and now this capability, common problems that we have that we want to share. Obviously, the things we don't want to share with them, but the things that we want to share and try to arrive at a solution together, we work with them on it as appropriate and as directed. Like I told someone the other day, we had a visit from the Angolan government. They're very important to us. At one point, they weren't, because they were very heavy Russian. Now, guess what Angola has? A lot of oil. And they're friendly to us. What do we want? We want to keep them friendly to us. And we're working with AFRICOM and helping the Angolan government try to figure out how to protect that oil production that's there, right? It's of interest to us now more than it ever has been. Where before we were actually adversaries with them. Now we're like, hey, we love you, man. Love that oil you have. But so that's how we also help, right? In that respect, and I'm bouncing around, and I'll get back to prototyping, evaluation, characterization capability. Do it as quickly as we can, but accurately. Provide that information back to the government, and the government then executes. It makes a decision. I want to with that vendor. And I'm gonna give you the money to continue to work with that vendor because while I'm interested, I may not be ready to fully embrace them yet. I want to continue working with you, we're gonna keep meeting your requirements, but I'm gonna pay for that process, because that vendor is now gonna do some work on behalf of me as the government entity, and then I'll continue to monitor the progress and we report the progress, like, hey, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here, hey, we can't get there from here. Because failure is good too, fail fast, rather than fail late, so that way the government knows, hey, can't get there from here with this particular entity, or this particular technology, it doesn't work, it's not viable, it's not ready, for you to ingest yet. That's one way. The other way, the government says, thank you very much, DreamPort and Seay. They go to you or you, it's like, can't sell, guys. Let's go do it, okay? And I never see you again. We have those scenarios, like, whatever happened to that company? Every once in a while, they'll come, to a happy hour or something we're doing, it's like, hey, thank you for that work. It's like, what work? You got us a $50 million contract. We did it. We don't even remember because it happens fast and they just disappear out of our radar and they go do their work. And so we have a number of vendors that we started out with year one that have those relationships and are in continuing contract arrangements with Cyber Command and NSA as a result of that. And that's fine. That's our job. We did our job. We identified capability, viability. The government was satisfied with it, and they were able to accelerate their ability to get to that technology or that vendor, and then start effectuating a national solution of some sort on behalf of the country. So those are the essence of how we work with technology. Yesterday we had a technology showcase. We invited 11 companies to come in. Those companies were vetted lightly around a very specific set of requirements that the customer had. They didn't want 50 companies, they didn't want 200 companies, that's RSA or something, right? They wanted just enough companies. And like I was telling you and some other folks, what's beneficial to those companies is they get a lot of attention from the customer at that point. And literally what put a smile on my face is I saw teams of 10, 15 government people with notebooks, sitting at a table like this in front, writing down things that were being said. And the companies were looking and said, wow, I got direct attention from someone who can take action and that's listening to me. Those government entities got together on their own yesterday and said, that company, you, let's go to this other room because we're interested. Well, the rest of you, thank you very much for coming. We'll talk again someday, right? Those companies went off and whatever happened. I don't know, I didn't get a chance to figure out I'm sure I'll see what happens or hear about what happened with those companies that were picked as a result of that quick speed dating effort when they got to pitch and direct. No salespeople, it has to be technical, right? Because they brought their technical people. That's how also we accelerate. They can read the internet and read electronic brochures just like all of us. That's not what they engage us for. They don't want to talk to salespeople. They want to talk to technical people. And they want their technical people to talk to technical people. So that's what happens there. What you see here is DreamPort, which is one of our brands. Our other brand is Mindscape. We launched it last year. It's located by BWI Airport. Mindscape is about 25, 30,000 square feet, probably going to grow a little bit, right across from the National Security Agency Cyber Directory, over by FanX, if you guys know FanX. It's got multiple floors. Right now, I think we're in one floor. We're working through the supply chain issues to get that other floor done, where we're going to have a SCIF. Right now, we have a secret facility on one floor, and a SCIF is coming in on the other floor. Secret data centers, top secret data centers, to do more classified related matters with the NSA. It's not an NSA facility, just like DreamPort is not an NSA facility. It's a private facility that, and when we created Mindscape, the acquisition executive for NSA, so he was like, wait a minute, did they use you guys to build a MilCon and bypass MilCon? It's like, no, that's not what happened. They gave us a problem. And they came and they had a conversation with us saying, we need to work on cybersecurity problems. We have our cyber collaboration center, but it's got some limits. It is, even though it's outside the fence line, it's still all the comms in there, like NSA. And you just can't walk up in there and do whatever you want because there's a lot of layers of things you have to go through to do certain things in there. And the authorities within the cyber collaboration center are limited to certain authorities, right? The things that are outside those authorities, we want to help you guys. Things that we can't do at the collaboration center, we want to do you guys. Perfect. Okay. Well, we need to have classified spaces. Okay, check that. Okay, understand that. We need you to try to be really as close as you possibly can to us. So when we first got that requirement, we'll just start remodeling the floor upstairs. I think we're already there. It's like, can't tell you what to do, but that doesn't sound that good to us. It's like, okay, let's see, we need the hint there. Okay, how about a facility over here? Facility like, no. Why don't you drive around to where we are and you'll see, And we looked at their location, like, we know what's going on here. It's one of the smallest parking constricted areas that NSA has as a facility. And when they leave that facility to come to our facility, which is like 10, 15 miles away, they would lose their parking space and their day would be ruined forever. Okay? so we got it. They didn't tell us to build a building right across the street or remodel the building across the street, but we're not stupid. We go, got it. Right across the street, you go out the turnstile, you don't have to move your car. Innovation happens at speed. And even though we did offer to get a bus service between there and us, like bus, we do that all day long at Fort Meade, on campus. We don't want to ride the bus. So we got the message. Well, this concept that you see here is something called Hack Universe. We started a trend a couple of years ago of concepts, highlighting various cyber concepts. Hack the building. White House asked us to say, bring it, we've got all this weapon systems talk, all this stuff, but what about if you hit your logo? All that stuff that happens inside the building goes down, people leave, people get hurt, right? So that's what happened. And so now we've got this concept called Hack the Universe, where we're highlighting different critical infrastructure and different cyber attack surfaces that we're doing. Let's go real quick because we're almost already out of time. Here are some of our partners. More than that, but we work with DISA and Cyber Command, NSA, as I mentioned, and SOCOM and Air Force now. A lot of coins and badges work with our organization now. Let's go to the next thing. We talked about who we are, 501c4, so we're not for profit, and we're OTAPI. Next. Mindscape, here's some photographs of Mindscape, a lot of rooms, data centers, so as it's being put together, located by BWI Airport. Anybody can work in there that's a stakeholder, but right now, definitely dominated by NSA, and then some Air Force and some Special Operations Command efforts are in there. Next slide. We talked about our OTA authorities through the contracts that we have, the 10 USC 237-1B, and these authorities here as well are how we execute as a public-private partnership with the government to accelerate innovation. And I'm not sure I'm going to hit it again. Okay. We breeze through this. We support innovation, capability, discovery, technology outreach, and rapid prototyping. Thanks. Right from the headline, cyber training. We're well known for our cyber training. A lot of the education contracts with the government are 5, 6 years old when they were awarded. One example that I've been citing recently is that we get a lot of requests for ransomware training. Why? Because ransomware didn't exist when they awarded those contracts that the war was being trained on. It wasn't a thing. It just happened in the last couple of years. So those are multi-million-dollar contracts that are modified or recompete. How do you get the warfighter familiar with ransomware? Well, you come to us and get it done like right now because it's happening right now. Okay, and that's what we do. We take ransomware, signal, and then we launch it and we train the warfighter how to decrypt, how to respond to it, how to understand how it works. One of the reasons DreamPort works so well is we have millions upon millions of dollars worth of assets, compute assets, that are donated to us or that we bought. They get shared among the various stakeholders that are interested. So this is probably part of the zero. No, this is one of our evaluation labs. But anyway, that's why. When the government comes, they may not have money immediately. They are working to figure out what they need. It's like, here's what we have. It's got stuff. Let's pick from that to get the project started, and then we'll figure out what we need to buy, what we need to buy. Even if you need to buy it, sometimes they buy nothing because we have it all, or it gets lent to us for the period of evaluation, testing, or prototyping. And they love that because they spend almost no money in years that can figure out what they really want. And that's one of the advantages that we provide to the government is rapid fire technology acquisition for evaluation and prototyping. You see some of the classes and things that are going on there, some of the devices and stuff. Next slide. Engagement. See that guy there with the 4 stars on his shoulder, hangs out with us all the time. See Mr. Chris Inglis over there. See the warfighters. You see ABC News here in the center with General Hartman, and you see the students. We're a community. We gather the community together on behalf of the DoD or our stakeholders. Train the warfighter, train the next generation, talk to the media. Like that screen that's behind them, you wouldn't never sit in front of a screen, even though they did allow Pierre Thomas on the Battle Bridge and for the first news agency to ever get access to that. But the rest of the interview was done in our facility because we have things that can be shown on camera that this guy doesn't have to be scared of. That people should not see. Comstar, that's in our broadcast studio, comes all the time to address retirement ceremonies, students, anything that he doesn't want to get on the plane to do, particularly during COVID. would come to our broadcasts, webinar studios to address, as well as SecDef and other people always coming through to do something or other with us. It's like more of what we do. We talk about election security. You have the reputation of getting Chris Krebs. It says the fire. The very last interview he did during his tenure was with me. He said the word election, unfortunately, was tweet fired by 5 o'clock after our conference. And we weren't even talking about election security. We were talking about critical infrastructure, but he was so proud of the election security effort. It's funny. I'll tell the story. The guy with a lot of stars also said it, but it was a pre-recorded video. Got a tap on his shoulder. That never happened. Ended it up. That guy kept his job. The other guy who spoke live was tweet fired instantly a couple hours after he said, "Hey, the best election security ever." So engaging with students, conferences, vendors, part of what we do. So here's some of the projects. Joint Strike Fighter. We have 80 submissions that we're evaluating right now. We're working with NSA and MITRE to figure out how to protect the F-35 platform in flight from industrial control attacks in flight, as well as underground supply chain before the platform gets in the air. Interesting project. It's not an IDS effort. The Air Force is like, it's not an IDS effort, because it isn't. It's more intense than that. So we're providing looking for sensory and capability to protect the platform in flight from attacks that weren't thought of earlier. Hey, bullets, missiles, but hey, what about an embedded industrial control attack? This thing is full of PLCs. So that's right. That's more of the Joint Strike Fighter. It's on our website. I won't bore you with that, but it's more of the same. That's a pretty big requirement for us. We should find innovators there. We're going to take the 80 and boil it down to 20. I think we're in the 20 range now, trying to make sure that we get the right 20, and we may reduce that to 10. And those companies will get money to help solve the problem. Okay. So other projects, you can always talk to me or go to our website. Malign influence countermeasures. We're working on the midterm elections. It's been an enduring capability. The Air Force Cyber Project, which is the secret, below secret NATO partner communications. We're doing a design of a zero trust network for the Air Force for all of our partners. Actually, we have a huge conference coming there. Protecting the grid, figuring out how to threat share with some of our major grid providers. The NSA zero trust effort that DISA recently published and this published started at DreamPort about 3-4 years ago, still going there, millions of dollars worth of gear as they do that. The defense of the defense industrial base, and other efforts that are there, operational technology encryption, on and on and on. That's just a small sampling. Our internship programs, he's spoken to these kids. One is an award-winning program. The goal is to get them real skills, get them interested in government service, if we can, military service if we can. If you left the military and you want to come back, we want you to come back as a civilian, and that's what this program represents. I won't bore you. They're talking. I don't want to work with that because we're out. So we're here to rapidly take non-traditional businesses, but traditional businesses as well. We do work with big guys. Sometimes a small 2-person company. Look, we have a 2-person company that's got a multi-million-dollar contract. We have a 1-person contract with a guy who created the algorithm and the computer in his garage. And he competed against other companies, and he was awarded a multi-million-dollar contract because his algorithm was unique enough and sparked a lot of interest. And that guy's still happy. The fact that his little project in his garage, as kids were asleep, turned into a business for him. When he solved the problem he solved while he was serving during the daytime in the military, but did not have an outlet for his idea. No one cared. No one listened. It's like, hey, that's not your job. But in the evenings he would work on this. We were an outlet, and he was able to take that technology and give it back to the nation to advance. That's what I got for you guys. We have multiple websites out there. We're pretty active around. We're talking about Mindscape, talking about DreamPort. We're opening up a facility in Miami on the University of Miami Coral Gables. And then who knows, South Carolina. A lot of activity going on with us all over the country, and then we're also doing engagement with our foreign partners in Europe. We'll be in Estonia next week, the French, the Brits, Australian. We got the AUKUS agreement that was recently signed to counter Indo-PACOM, get us the whole China region. So we're behind that. Women, peace, and security. So we enable policy, creating stuff for the government. So we, believe it or not, we're a small team. Most of what we do, we manage. We ideate around it, but typically an average of 80 to 60, 70% we subcontract out. Why? Because we want to find the best. You can't have the best, so they hang around for 30 years. We want the latest and greatest disruptor around the idea, and that requires us to go out and find that individual or that woman, that group, obviously in the US, wherever they reside, or in academia, to bring that technology forward. When we did Zero Trust, we went to the person who created the term Zero Trust, and we brought him to get the NSA, DISA team, JFQ domain team started. They didn't know how to start. Well, let's go with the person who created the whole concept. And we literally grabbed him and paid him however it was per hour to come get the NSA, and that joint team started. So those are the kinds of things that we do to accelerate. The government will tell you if they wanted to get to that expert, they would have to repeat it for 3 minutes. Maybe a year later, they would have gotten to one individual on it, right? Or they would have to find a contract vehicle that wasn't suited in it, that was overpriced. We were able to bring him in. He actually did it for free. All it cost us was airfare and hotel for him to come get the government started on Zero Trust. So, all right. Thank you.